my amazing children. This is Grandma Carla. I am back with The Swiss Family Robinson by Johann Wyss. And this book is a little bit older language, so we're learning some new vocabulary. And it's always good for us to read at a level of higher vocabulary. It's very good for us in our reading skills. So, last time we didn't make it through chapter 1 because they're long chapters, but we made it about halfway through chapter 1, and today we're going to finish chapter 1. And remember, chapter 1 is Shipwrecked and Alone, and we just stopped when they had gone out looking for supplies, and now they're coming all back together. And it says, when we reassembled in our cabin, we all displayed our treasures. Fritz brought a couple of guns, shot belt, powder flask, and plenty of bullets. Ernest produced a cap full of nails, an axe, and a hammer, while pincers, chisels, and augers stuck out of all of his pockets. Little France carried a box and eagerly began to show us the nice, sharp little hooks it contained. "Well done, France," cried I. "These fish hooks, which you, the youngest, have found, may contribute more than anything else in the ship to save our lives by producing food for us. Fritz and Ernest, you have chosen well." "Will you praise me too?" said his dear wife. "I have nothing to show, but I can give you good news. Some useful animals are still alive: a cow, a donkey, 2 goats, 6 sheep, a ram, and a fine sow. I was but just in time to save their lives by taking food to them." "All these things are excellent indeed," said I, "but my friend Jack here has presented me with a couple of huge, hungry, useless dogs who will eat more than any of us." "Oh, Papa, they will be of use. Why, they will help us to hunt when we get on shore." "No doubt they will, if ever we do get on shore, Jack, but I must say I don't know how it is to be done." "Can't we each get into a big tub and float there?" returned he. "I have often sailed splendidly like that round the pond at home." "My child, you have hit on a capital idea," cried I. "Now, Ernest, let me have your tools: hammers, nails, saws, augers, and axe, and then make haste to collect any tubs that you can find." We very soon found 4 large casks made of sound wood and strongly bound with iron hoops. They were floating with many other things in the water in the hold, but we managed to fish them out and drag them to a suitable place for a launching. They were exactly what I wanted, and I succeeded in sawing them around the middle. Hard work it was, and we were glad enough to stop and refresh ourselves with wine and biscuits. My 8 tubs now stood ranged in a row near the water's edge, and I looked at them with great satisfaction. To my surprise, my wife did not seem to share my pleasure. "I shall never," said she, "muster courage to get into one of these." "Do not be too sure of that, dear wife. When you see my contrivance completed, you will perhaps prefer it to this immovable wreck." I next procured a long, thin plank on which my tubs could be fixed, and the 2 ends of this I bent upward so as to form a keel. Other 2 planks were nailed along the sides of the tubs. They all, also being flexible, were brought to a point at each end, and all firmly secured and nailed together. I felt satisfied that in smooth water this craft would be perfectly trustworthy. But when we thought all was ready for the launch, we found, to our dismay, that the grand contrivance was so heavy and clumsy that even our united efforts could not move it an inch. "I must have a lever," cried I. "Run and fetch the capstan bar." Fritz quickly brought one, and having formed rollers by cutting up a long spar, I raised the fore part of my boat with the bar, and my sons placed a roller under it. "How is it, Father," inquired Ernest, "that with all that thing you alone can do more than all of us together?" I explained, as well as I could in a hurry, the principle of the lever, and promised to have a long talk on the subject of mechanics, should we have a future opportunity. I now made fast a long rope to the stern of our boat, attaching the other end to a beam, then placing a second and a third roller under it. We once more began to push, this time with success, and soon our gallant craft was safely launched, so swiftly indeed that did she glide into the water that, but for the rope, she would have passed beyond our reach. The boys wished to jump in directly, but alas, she leaned too much to one side that they could not venture to do so. Some heavy things being thrown in, however, the boat righted itself by degrees, and the boys were so delighted that they struggled which should leap first in to have the fun of sitting down in the tubs. But it was plain to me at once that something more was required to make her perfectly safe, so I contrived outriggers to preserve the balance by nailing long poles across each of the stem and the stern and fixing it at the end of each empty brandy cask. Then the boat appeared steady. I got in, and turning it toward the most open side of the wreck, I cut and cleared away obstructions so as to leave a passage for our departure, and the boys brought oars to be ready for the voyage. This important undertaking we were forced to postpone until the next day, as it was by this time far too late to attempt it. It was not pleasant to have to spend another night in so precarious a situation, but yielding to necessity, we sat down to enjoy a comfortable supper, for during our exciting and incessant work all day, we had taken nothing but an occasional biscuit and a little wine. We prepared for rest in a much happier frame of mind than on the preceding day, but I did not forget the possibility of a renewed storm, and therefore made everyone put on the belts as before. Then retiring to our berths, peaceful sleep prepared us all for the exertions of the coming day. That is the end of chapter 1, but I want to show you all of the pictures. Okay, so these are the pictures that go with, all right, here is a picture of this very makeshift raft that they have made by putting all of these little tubs together into one very, very heavy little boat. And that is the end of chapter 1. And this is Grandma Carla, and I love you.